Welcome to a brand new video. In today's video, we are out in Lisbon of all places, capturing sunrise. We're gonna be going around exploring Lisbon, seeing what we can capture today. I've got a whole bunch of photo spots in mind and places to go, so I'm really excited to share that with you. And along the way, I wanna talk about some of my thoughts about why you should develop your creative practice and learn to really develop a creative skill set. Let's jump on into things. We're in Alfama, the famous area with all the trams. Let's see what we can capture.
All right, so those trams are absolutely no joke. So stoked I've actually finally been able to capture them. But I'm actually in Lisbon, not just for a photography mission or just vacation. We're actually going to a friend's wedding in a couple of days, and I wanted to set some time aside to knock one off the bucket list and be able to capture some old school street photography in the city like I love to do. And that's really what I want to make today's video about. The importance of really setting aside time for yourself to be able to explore your own creativity, your own originality. And so we are setting time aside to be able to do that. And I am unbelievably excited because it's something I rarely do. I work a lot, obviously running my creative agency, and kind of put street photography on the back burner in a lot of ways. I've obviously fallen in love with nature and landscape photography, so this is gonna be a good one. We've got a packed day planned, and for right now, we're actually just gonna go grab some food first, and then from there, we're gonna head out into the city and adventure around. So hope you're excited. The next spot though that we're at is called the LX Factory. And this is a really cool sort of like industrial area that they've turned into almost like a culture center. So there's a lot of photography here that I'm really excited to capture, which kind of takes me to the first point that I want to talk about, which is how can you actually develop a creative practice for yourself or build a creative skill set. And so the biggest sort of recommendation that I could say to anybody that wants to start a creative skill set is to build a creative routine for yourself. And so like getting up for sunrise, taking the photo, doing that 2-3 times a week, even in your own city, is a good way to get started. But giving yourself like that routine is just an overall good way to sort of build that habit for yourself and then steadily get better. As every time you practice, you can give yourselves new things to just focus on and build that skill set with. And so as you build that skill set for yourself, just from making it like a creative routine, you can then decide what you want to do with it. Whether you want to make it your actual job, or if you just want to make travel videos for fun, you still have a way to integrate it into your life. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's not something you could just pick up and think, oh, I'm gonna go on vacation or whatever, and I'm just gonna take incredible photos. Like, you need to have it almost be a part of who you are as a person. And the biggest thing that comes with doing that is doing it a lot. And making a point to integrate it into whatever your lifestyle actually is. I'm gonna put up a few of my favorite photos on the screen for you to take a look at. You get an idea of where we've been, and we're gonna head on over to our next location, which is also somewhere I've been meaning to get to for a while. Wrapped up at the monastery, and 10 out of 10. Honestly, if that's my review, I think it's so cool from an architecture standpoint. I've seen so many photos of it over the years. So if you are in Lisbon, make the time, go inside. I know the line can be long, but it is definitely worth it. And I also just want to add on to the point with that, which is that once you have your creative habit in place, consistency and maintaining that habit and your creative practice is the hardest but the most important thing if you are really wanting to progress. And so there's going to be days where you don't want to go out to make your photos or your videos or your content if you're a content creator, and those are the times that you absolutely must do them. I know when you're on vacation and you're traveling, probably you don't want to carry that camera around all the time, or maybe you don't want to wake up for sunrise because you're just too tired. But even on days like today, where the sunrise didn't happen and it's still nice and gray out, you still have to bring yourself to get out of it, because that's the only way you're actually going to improve with your craft. And so we're gonna head on over to our next location now. I'm so tired though, because I've had my bag on my back. We weighed it before we left, and it is a solid 40 pounds just weighing me down. So had to get a nice sit right here on this stool. But we're gonna make our way over. I'm excited, more photos to come as usual. And honestly, yeah guys, it's just not disappointing. Lisbon has been it's been pretty cool, very different than what I'm used to. Made it to now the Tower of Belém, as you can see behind me. Apparently it used to be used as the original sort of watchtower to get into the harbor of Lisbon. And I wish there were more, because you could do a ton of photography with this thing. I think it's very cool. It was kind of interesting grabbing shots of it just to try and get creative. Managed to get a few shots that I thought were interesting. The light's really hard to play with right now. A lot of difficult sort of contrast because of just how stark the sun is and it peeking through the clouds. And it kind of got me thinking, because obviously related to consistency is sort of this question about what would you even post if you're posting all the time? And the reality is that most of the time we're probably pretty tempted to copy what we see just on Instagram or social media in general, and really just searching for like original perspectives. If I'm being honest, this trip so far, since we got here, has kind of just shown me the fun side of making content again. And while I am obviously still worried about making good videos and concerned about maybe views of stuff that I'm making here, I'm still doing it with a little bit more originality than I think I used to. I've kind of gone in with a little bit more of an open mind and let the location kind of inspire me on its own. So I think that that's probably one of the best reasons to actually have a creative hobby and build your practice, is because I found that it kind of gives me a better sense of like autonomy and has allowed me to actually find like my own sense of self-expression. So it's kind of twofold. You think you need to just be obsessed with views all the time and like what's actually working, but probably the thing that you need to do is focus on what you like and then learn how to make it so that other people will like it too. So now we're gonna head back into the city because we've got to eat some dinner and probably enjoy a little bit of what Lisbon has to offer at night. But tomorrow we still have a very early morning because we are off to Sintra, which is a very cool castle that I'm also very excited to see. I'm excited about a lot of things on this trip, probably for good reason. So with that, see you guys tomorrow morning and we'll be off on the next adventure. Okay, it is a brand new day, and make sure we're recording. And let me tell you, the adventure this morning has been insane. Between a train ride that was absolutely packed, a bus ride where I was falling all over the place because my camera bag is so dang heavy, we made it to Pina Palace, which is just behind me. Whenever I'm caught in a lot of tourism, I don't really thrive, and today is definitely a lot of tourism. The palace tours are all completely sold out. There's just a mad number of tourist buses. And let me tell you that this is not even peak season. We are here in early October. The weather's not that incredible and it's still jammed. So I can only imagine what August is gonna look like. But that said, we're trying to figure out our itinerary and figure out where we're gonna go. We've got Pina Palace tours at 2. We're gonna walk on over to maybe a few different areas around the palace gardens. In the meantime, just explore the area. That was kind of the plan. And then we'll basically figure out what our options are from there. So we're gonna look for some photography. There are some really cool castle ruins around the garden as well. There are some other palaces that are smaller around the area that I wanna make some videos of maybe.
And then obviously we got to film a reel today. So with that, we're going to carry on and also talk about the next thing on today's list, which is creation versus consumption. So now we made it to the top of the Moorish castle because this was not too far and just close enough that we're not going to miss out on our time slot at 2 for the Pina Palace tour, which is right behind me, which you can kind of see it over there. And it got me thinking because it is jam-packed with tourists, if I'm being honest, this whole area. And that is that if you want to really be successful with your creative practice, you can't necessarily follow the crowds. You need to do things differently. And right now, I'm here at 11:50, which it's my own fault. Peak people time at this area. And if I was here at sunrise, I think it would just be absolutely incredible for bucket list photos and videos. And that kind of brings me to that main idea, which is that you got to do things differently. You got to come up for sunrise, you got to show up late for sunset, do the difficult things, and that's how you're gonna figure out how to set yourself apart. And it's by doing the crazy things that are a lot harder to do, that are true to what you want to make, that is gonna allow you to actually figure out what your creative expression is. So this trip is really just about exploring and finding what it is that I can get excited about. We're still getting incredible photos along the way, but that's kind of the thing that like got on my mind as I'm up here, is just if you're following what everybody else is doing and thinking that that's just enough, going to the cool place, getting the picture that everybody else takes at the time that everybody else goes, you're not really gonna find what's true to you. And I think if I have any like tactical advice on the social media side of things, it's about figuring out what's working. So knowing what you want to post and then figuring out how to do it in your own way. And I will say, actually, all things considered still, that this little castle is absolutely incredible. Check out this view, by the way. This is absolutely nuts. So crazy, all the way at the top here. And then Pina Palace is all the way on the other side. And so we are gonna head over there next for the last part of today's video. Because if you haven't noticed, this whole thing comes down to basically doing a few simple steps. And the last part of today's video is gonna be the last thing you need to think about. All right, and that will take us to the last part of today's video. And the final thing that I want to mention is that the most important thing you can do throughout sort of following these steps that we've laid out in this video is the final one. Because when you put sort of all the dots together or the steps together, you're then gonna realize that where you're basically gonna end up is realizing what the bigger reason behind making your content actually is. And finding your why and sort of the meaning behind your content is really the journey that every content creator needs to go through, because posting your work on social media or just creating something in general without that sort of deeper purpose is nice in the beginning, especially if you have good likes and views behind what it is that you're posting, if it's entertaining and you're good at it. But the deeper meaning and the why is, I think, what really separates the good from the great. And it's gonna be the thing that propels you a lot further in your creative sort of craft than if you didn't have that in the first place. Having that sort of richer meaning behind things is what's going to motivate you on the days where maybe you're not as inspired to go out and create content, or you're trying to make something really hard and for some reason you want to give up. If I could say anything, it's sort of just go through the journey of creating content recurringly, building that habit in your life and learning to just love the craft. And then inevitably you're going to end up on finding that bigger meaning towards the end of it. All of us have to go through it, and it's going to be the thing that I think makes the biggest difference for you. So with that, I hope you enjoyed today's video. There's going to be a lot more to come. I'm really excited for some of the future ideas that I have. So if you did enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe, give it a like, leave me a comment, let me know some things that maybe you want to see. And with that, I will see you all in the next one.